boys and girls, since we're on letter Z, we would have taken a field trip to the zoo, but we can't. So you know what? I'm going to read you the story about Curious George feeds the animals at the zoo. Okay? It's by Margaret Hayes. Here we go. This is George. George was a good little monkey and was very curious. You know what curious means? He wants to find out about things. One day, George went to the zoo with his friends, the man with the yellow hat. A new rainforest exhibit was opening, and they wanted to be the first ones inside. But when they got to the new exhibit, the doors were closed. Well, have to come back, George, the man said. Why don't we wait for the other animals? Why don't we visit the other animals while we wait? First, they stopped to watch the zookeeper feed the seals. When he tossed a little fish in the air, the seals jumped up to catch them. They barked for more. Seals barked, did you know that? It looked like fun to feed the animals. Would you like something to eat, George? Asked the man with the yellow hat. And he bought a snack for them to share. When they stopped to see the crocodile, George remembered how the zookeeper had fed the fish to the seals. He was curious. Would the crocodile like something to eat? Ooh, you think that's safe? George tossed him a treat, and the crocodile snapped it out of the air. Next, they visited the koalas. George thought the koalas were cute. Here was a friendly one. She was curious too. She wanted to see what George was eating, so she held out her hand to share. George shared his treats with an elephant. Think he should be sharing all the treats and a baby kangaroo. George was making lots of new friends at the zoo. The lion was already eaten, but the hippopotamus tried a snack. Next, he gave a treat to the ostrich. He's feeding all the animals. When George saw the giraffes, what fun to feed a giraffe. Giraffes usually have their heads high up in the tree, but George could see those giraffes would be easy to feed. But as soon as he held out his hand, the zookeeper came running. The zookeeper looked angry. Was he angry with George? George didn't know, and he didn't want to stay to find out, so he slipped away. Uh-oh, where's he going to go? And the giraffes were happy to help. But where did George go? Should he be going in those cages? Look, he slid down the giraffe's neck. He was trying his best to hide, but little monkeys can't stay still for long. When George wiggled, the zookeeper was waiting. I see you, he said. Just then another zookeeper hurried by. Come quick, she yelled. Someone saw the parrot. The first zookeeper led George to a bench. The parrot from our new exhibit escaped, and I must help find it, he explained. He told George to wait here for him. And before he left, he said, don't you know you're not supposed to feed the animals? The wrong food might make them sick. George felt awful. He didn't know he wasn't supposed to feed the animals. He didn't want to make them sick. George was looking at the treats in his hand when all of a sudden, I hope he stays there. Uh-oh. A big bird swooped down and snatched it right up. Now, George knew he wasn't supposed to feed the animals, but this one had helped himself. A zookeeper passing by was happy to see George. You found the parrot, she said. We've been looking for this bird all day. When she saw George snack, she said, this isn't the best thing to feed a parrot, but a little won't hurt. Would you like to help me put him back where he belongs? George was glad to help after all the trouble he caused. Together, and they went back to the exhibit. There's our problem, the zookeeper said, pointing to the hole in the netting. As the zookeepers discussed how to fix it, George had an idea. He climbed to the top like only a monkey can, and when he reached the hole, he tied the netting back together. Meanwhile, the first zookeeper returned. Catch that naughty monkey, he yelled. He was feeding the animals. But the little monkey found the parrot, and another zookeeper told him. And look, he fixed the netting. Now we can open the exhibit. When George came down, all the zookeepers cheered. Finally, the celebration began and the doors were open. The man with the yellow hat was there, and he and George got to be the first ones inside. As George walked in, the zookeepers thanked him for all his help. Please visit any time, they said. George couldn't wait to come back to see his friends. But next time he remembered, unless you're a zookeeper, what? Don't feed the animals. Okay, the end, boys and girls. So sometimes they have a place where a little petting zoo, maybe where you can feed and milk the little babies, but otherwise you don't feed the animals like George. Okay,